How's it going, guys? And welcome to the first ever Old School RuneScape streamer design session. This was a very spontaneous idea we had to allow some of our favorite streamers to come into the office and design a potential new room to come with Raids 2, which is released next year. By that, I mean they could create a brand new demi-boss, incredibly difficult monster challenge, or puzzle room that has no combat whatsoever. So we'll see what they can get up to. They've got 1 hour. As you can, I'm sure, recognize all these faces, I do not need to introduce these guys. I'm going to give them the DDSs. Here you go.
Thank you.
That was for Wooks. All right. And, I'll leave you guys to it. Enjoy.
Right, so first up, boss room or puzzle room is what we're thinking.
Boss room.
Boss room is really hard to do though, because like it'd have to be good. Puzzle room would be easy. Just have like
It depends on what puzzle you want to go for. I want to do a boss room, and I really want Luke's to like build the concept of it and like put something really challenging in there. Like
I think either a boss room or a room that's to do with like a time limit. So if you don't do it within the time, then everybody gets reset and dies or something like that.
Yep.
So that way you're always under pressure and you always have to communicate, because Raids 2, if you think about it, it's going to be one of those pieces of content where teamwork is everything, and you've got 5 players all need to talk to each other. So if it's like a time limit based thing and you don't do everything right, then everybody just loses.
It's making me think of Barbarian Assault when your defender is garbage and everything gets past.
That's true.
And I feel that's going to end some friendships.
That's true. So
I think we should. Does anyone actually want to do a puzzle room at all? Or do you want to do a boss room?
Puzzles are really hard
Riggs
to
had
do.
an idea.
I've got a concept for like either, right? Obviously this is to do with vampires, right? And the first thing that comes to mind is bats. And I'm thinking a time limit as well, where it could be a puzzle room, where you have to work as a team to try and figure it out. And at the same time there's a bunch of bats coming in, and it's forming into a boss in the centre of the room. And as soon as it becomes like fully grown, everybody dies. So whatever the room is, you need to figure it out in a certain amount of time, or everybody just gets wiped out.
Or it could like be forming the boss, and depending how hard it is at the end, that's what you have to fight. So you could like scale down this boss as much as possible by the time it forms it.
Yep.
I
So
actually
it
like
could
that
either be
idea.
a puzzle
That's a
room,
good idea.
or it could be a boss. Something to do with bats. I don't know. Just came into my head earlier. I was like, that's
I
good.
do like the idea of the boss scales up, but then depending how effective or like how good coordination you have with your team,
that's how hard it would be.
you can do everything quite quickly. It's like, an example could be in the gargoyle boss, you know, the orbs that go on the floor, they go from like 2 damage to 10 damage to 20 damage. So this boss could grow to like, I don't know, maximum level of something that can hit X amount. But if you do everything really well, you can bring it to like an absolute minimum level where it's still quite strong, but nowhere near like the maximum. But then there's also
I had an idea before where it was like the bat concept, but except you have like a room and there's like blood coming out points of the room, and you have to patch those up, and that forms like maybe like a blood thing in the middle, like a blood monster or something in the end.
Either that or
Backwards
it's
to
the
scale.
player's blood. Like the bat is taking the player's
the
blood,
room
so
fills and everybody dies.
you're losing health, and the bat is getting bigger.
Or you like fly out of this like pipe and bite you, and then like blood in the middle or some shit. I'm not allowed to swear, am I?
Oh man.
So what do we want to go with? Do we want to go with blood or bats?
I think either idea.
should we
You
do
could
a
have
vote?
both.
You could combine them together though.
Yeah,
The bat could
bats
like
get the
feast
blood.
on blood.
Yep.
Vampire bat.
So we're thinking like a square room for this kind of stuff. Well, yeah, like
I'm thinking square. I don't know, man.
Square room
Well, it's
definitely,
meant
I
to be
think.
like a theatre, so it could be like
A theatre,
stage
so
or
you
something
walk
like
in.
that.
Oh, yeah, there's got to be like blokes watching round edge and stuff.
If it's a square room, like nothing inside, there's no safe spots, they'll just come up.
So we're thinking these bats come at like certain points in the room then, and how would you like stop these bats from forming together in the middle?
First thing, if it's
That's
bats,
the thing, I'm not sure.
are we going range and mage only? So melee will be useless in this room? Or,
Because maybe you have to do like a certain combat style to take out these bats.
because if they're flying, you could maybe
Well,
make
but-
a halberd worth something.
I was just thinking making use of like ice barrage, blood barrage and stuff, taking it back to the theme
Blood
and stuff,
barrage.
and like
I
Blood
think it'd be better
barrage
without
would be-
combat, to be honest with you. Because I mean, you could have like the first section be a puzzle, you fail the puzzle, or depending on how well you do the puzzle, you fight a boss. And then the boss has all the mechanics.
I don't know, can we come up with a puzzle on the spot? I can't do
Well, the
any
puzzle could
puzzles.
just be like I don't know, like the idea of like bats flooding in or something and taking the blood, or blood. How would blood drain from your body without something taking it off you though? How would it just happen? You know, you got malaria or something.
You could bring blood barrage into it somehow, but I don't know how you could bring it round. Because obviously if you're the one getting blood barrage, maybe we're being
The
attacked with blood
audience,
barrage.
the theatre, all the people around the edge could be blood barraging you
Yeah.
lot down there, taking your blood for the boss.
And it heals it. Which means you'd have to DPS it down as fast as possible though, which kind of changes things. Because we put loads of ideas out now, but which one should we go with? Because I do like that. So you'd need high mage defense in the room, potentially protect from mage, or something that can just bring it down so you have to pay attention the whole time. And then you're losing health as the boss increases health. I like that concept. And then you've got to DPS it down, and then we'll just add something else to it.
What about if we made it like a puzzle and a boss room, right? So I'm thinking like a maze.
It's a bit like the Ice Demon where you have to do the skilling bit before, and then
Yeah.
you fight the boss
So-
after.
So boring.
Yeah.
The whole team goes in, and there's different puzzles. For example, it might just be something as simple as stand on this square, but everyone has to do it in a specific order. And if somebody messes up, everybody takes damage. So you're losing supplies, and there's like a boss in the middle. And like the less damage you take by the time you get there, the weaker the boss will be. Obviously, if you mess up on every single step along the way, the boss is going to be insane. Like
And then
something
drain
like
all your
that.
supplies from the rest of the room, yeah.
That could be like a spotlight, theatre spotlights. So if you're not on that spot,
Yeah.
then
It could be as simple as just standing on a square, and if somebody messes up, everybody gets hurt, so you lose supplies, and the boss gets stronger. Something like that.
So this could be, as an example of that one, 5 random squares.
Yeah.
But every square has to have a player on in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So if there's 2 players
Yeah.
that go towards one square.
So how about a room where it's all about reactions? So everybody has to be on a square at the same time, and if not, it drains health from you and gives it to the boss, and that increases its power level by the end.
Yeah.
So
how
for-
much time? Because the
The more
Australian
damage you
ping.
take, the stronger the boss gets. I mean, there could be something
So it's like that reaction game where you have that board and it's like lights coming up. You have to like tap them as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But this is to do with like running to the tiles. Everyone has to stand on the tile, otherwise it drains you and
Yeah.
gives it to the boss in the middle.
Exactly, and there could be loads of different ones. There could be one where, like, I'm thinking Cerberus, you've got different colours that come and it's a different thing. You could have like a different, I'm going with bats again, I don't know why I'm obsessed with bats, but I'm thinking there could be different coloured bats, and you have to protect against it or something like that, I don't know. And like, maybe it drains more blood. I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top of the head. I like bats.
I mean, a bat
I
fits
just
the
think it's
concept.
suited. I think it's well suited because it's to do with vampires, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's true.
The thing with that though, again, with the gargoyle boss that just came out,
Yeah.
very similar to a bat. Do
What
want
about-
something brand new.
True.
what about, I don't know how you could fit this in, but the idea of like theatre and trapdoors and stuff. So if you're not on a specific spotlight one, then there's like a trapdoor that like loses health or something, or loses your health. That's the only other thing I come up with that's
Well, you'd have to like
based on
fall
that.
down if anyone was with a group, would you?
That's where you could bring the blood barrage in with the actual squares. The entire room could be blood barraged apart from said safe
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
And
we
that-
can. I think we should probably put that down.
Oh, how about
is-
this, right? How about this? You stand on these squares that are lit up with darkness, and then the audience can see everywhere else, but if you're in these spots of dark, they can't hit
That's
you.
what I was
because they
thinking.
can't
Like
see
the
you.
concept of this room is
So you don't take
when
any
you first
damage
walk
in
into
the
the
right
room,
spot.
there's this boss here. It looks really weak, but then all of the room starts getting dark. You have to stand on these tiles that are light. If all the players are on the tiles, then the boss gains no health, or power. So by the end of the room, depending on how many people miss, that will drain your health and give it to the boss, and then give it power. That's what you have to fight at the end.
So you're saying the tiles are light.
Yeah.
And you're saying they're dark.
Yeah, but it should
So-
be dark though.
or
Well,
dark.
if you want to do the like audience mechanic or
Yeah,
barrage
or the,
and that.
yeah. So blood barrage
Yeah.
and give it to the boss.
Yeah. So if you stood in the dark, then they can't see you. So they
And it's
can't
all about
actually
reaction
attack
and timing. So
Yeah.
you'd have to run to that tile in time,
you.
otherwise
The
you
fact
get
that the
drained.
whole blood brush thing is just kind of like a background thing. That doesn't even matter. The mechanic would be just standing in the square.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
blood
like
barrage
that
will just
idea.
heal the bosses to make it harder. So I
Yeah.
think the blood barrage mechanic we should definitely do. I like that.
Mhm.
It means you need mage defense or just do everything perfectly.
Or maybe like the boss is powerful enough even without the health, but the blood barrage would give it more health by the end of the fight. So say
That's
it could start with like say 1000 HP, depending on how much you get drained. Scale that, add it to the boss, and that's how much health it would have at the end.
I think it's
Something
good.
like
I like that.
I like the idea. Yeah. It's good.
You should make it so like if you actually mess up on every single little puzzle bit, the boss is just like almost
Yeah.
unkillable.
He's got to leave
Like
the
it will
race.
literally just one hit you, like just
Yeah.
to punish the people who mess
Because
up.
the thing is like, how big could this room be, and how many ticks would it take to
would
get
have-
to a
it
tile?
can't be that
Like,
big if you want it to be a reaction.
if you wanted it to be
unless it's
like
a big
difficult,
time.
you would have to make it so as soon as the tile would appear, you'd have to be like near to tick perfect to run to it, otherwise you get drained, and that would give it to the
There'll
boss.
be ping problems.
Yeah, that's the only thing. The problem with ping and
That
stuff.
could just ruin the entire room if there's issues like that.
Yeah.
Like it'd just be dead content.
Rest in peace, the Aussies. I'm not gonna like this one.
This is the anti-Aussie room.
Yeah.
Anyone else get anything to chip in to that concept, Alex?
I like that concept, and then it's the issue with.
I mean, does anyone have any other ideas?
I might have another idea if I can get the pen.
Yep.
Go on, son.
Swap places so you can start writing.
I'm blessed. In the previous seat. Field power bonus.
Got the warmth
So,
of books.
Here we go.
I was thinking about quite difficult mechanic that I came up with. So we have the RuneScape grid system here. So everything is squares. So the boss would stand somewhere in the middle, and it would shoot pools of blood at you. So it could, if you're standing right here, it would shoot here, and then you would have to move away from those. Otherwise, if you stand in those, it would drain your health, and the boss would gain health. And there is another thing that I was thinking about. So let's say you move here, the boss shoots another pool right here, and I was thinking that the pools can go together and spread out. So whenever there's an empty square that has 2 pools next to each other, it would then fill out the middle one. So you'd have to be really careful with the positioning of the pools. So you could mess this up quite easily, because you see right now there's 3 in a row. So if you accidentally put one here, then this has 2 right next to it, so this becomes here, and this has 2 next to it, so this would fill up, and all of this would fill up very quickly. So you have to be really careful about your positioning of all the poles, and I think that could make it really challenging. So yeah, at the same time you would have to move around with some other mechanic.
Could you not like implement that idea into our idea? And if you
So it's
if you
kind of
mess
like an
up-
idea where it drains you, then it
yeah,
gives it
like,
to the boss at the
and
end.
you could legit combine those 2
Yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
with the reaction mechanic, and then if you mess up on the original idea, it will connect them together, and then the whole room will just be.
Because if you
really
think
hard.
about it, like there's a mechanic at Ulm where you have to run to the health pools, and it's the exact same thing we were talking about here.
Yeah.
But you could make that probably just a little bit faster, because the Ulm gives you like enough time to run to it, and it's like all spread out.
Yeah, with that one, how would you say the best way to tackle it would be? Like players in the corners of the room.
I would say
So
like,
blinking.
you know how you get the teleport mechanic where you get a colour coordinated to another player? You could have like a tile certain colour, and you'd have like a thing under you saying you have to run, this colour has to run to that colour, example. And if you're not on the tile, obviously it drains you and gives it to the boss.
If we're going with that, how big would the room be?
Exactly.
How big do we think this room should be? Like how big is 15 by 15?
The question is, how big can the room be?
15 by 15
That's a
is
good point,
massive.
actually. How big can the room be?
Well, so you could see it, because if it's too large, then you cannot see, the tiles that are far away, like 15 tiles away.
You can't even see like the entire Vasa room sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like it has to load in, so it's got to be smaller than something like that. Everything like small, I think.
Is there a way to take away the blood so that you can kind of buy back some time and like somehow
You could
get rid of it?
barrage the middle bit and take blood back off it.
Just thinking, because otherwise you'd need like an infinitely big room, depending on how your RNG is and how well you hit. Because if you don't hit quickly and stuff, and then the room fills up with blood, and you need more time, is there a way to redeem it at all?
I guess it could shoot a certain amount of blood pools to you. So if you put like the blood in like the best position, then it wouldn't really fill up, and the boss would stop using that attack.
How would it work if all 5 players stood on the same square for the first one, and then they all move to the next square, so it follows them, but because all 5 are there, it'd be one there, they'd start connecting one by one, rather than 5 coming at once, split over the room?
Well, the boss would attack one person at once.
It'd be only one.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of good for like when you're streaming with like a group of people, you can flame the guy who messes up.
Be good. And then what happens? It just damages you if you stood in it.
Yeah, and it tells the boss. So if the whole room fills up, you basically lost a kill.
Are we actually combining both, or just going with the top idea right now? I'm lost.
Yeah, I'm confused, not gonna lie.
Yeah, where does the boss come onto this bit here? So we have the tiles. So where would the boss be in the room? Say you've got the tiles there.
So you'd have like a certain size room, let's say the boss is 3 by 3, so you'd have like the 3 by 3 in the middle, just, you can't stand there, and then everything around it maybe. But then if you build a wall of it, you've like cut off your south end, you have to go to the north side and try not to build another wall. Because you'd have to move, I think, bit by bit upwards and then build the wall behind you. So you'd start by the entrance to the room, I think. And obviously as the wall starts building, you move up the room, so the first half of the room would be completely covered. And then you're in the second half, which is completely free, as you move slowly towards the end of it, and by the time the boss is dead, half the room's filled, but you're on the other half of the room, so you don't get touched once. That's how I think you'd do it.
I think it'd be interesting to see 5 people trying to manipulate that, like whether they'd all just, stand in a line, or whether they'd stand on top of each other, like how they'd get around that. Because you'd obviously want to use as little space as possible. You wouldn't really want to be spread out, because then you're going to have more connecting squares. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, because if it's one person being attacked, and they're dropping the blood, let's say every tick, that person just has to not attack the boss and just walk himself round in the deadest places possible, and sort of just keep building it slowly as the other 4 people kill the boss. Is it sort of that?
Well, I was thinking that the boss maybe would rotate around the players, so it would attack them in certain order, so players would know when they have to stand somewhere that isn't close to another blood.
A
So-
previous one.
Yeah.
I like it. Anyone else got anything?
I'm too stupid to like follow this right now.
Can the boss be a bat?
Sorry?
Can the boss be a bat?
Wait, I mean, that wide, the rotation just fly around, so there you go, yeah. Big bat. Sorted.
So, yeah. If there's 5 people in the room... Depends how fast it is, I don't know. Dalek, you said nothing, come on.
I mean, if it only attacks one person, then it doesn't use everybody. But if every person is targeted, then they've got to focus on avoiding it and avoiding each other. Otherwise, you're going to kill your friends and get flamed.
So it's coordination, isn't it? Do you want to... Wait. We need to work out how big the room can be. Then we can draw it up there and work out how much
Think about how
space
big a
you want.
max room is in raids. You don't want it to be. Do you want it to be like out the distance? So you have to run somewhere else, or can you see the whole room in one line of sight? It would be nice to see like the whole room without the loading screen in between, because that would be so AIDS.
So what have we actually decided on right now? Like, just to get it straight, are we combining these or are we going with Wooks' idea?
I think they can be combined in a way. But it's you take the tile thing, but then you do the how instead of you have to be stood on the tile, you meant to not be stood on the tile, and it moves like that. So it's like the first idea, but instead of
Because
being
this
stood on
concept is slightly different to that one, because that one you're basically trying to avoid certain
Oh,
tiles,
yeah, I
so
think
you
they're
don't.
opposites,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This one is basically the boss wouldn't be attacking you at the start; it would be invulnerable. So you would have to run to the tiles, and if you wasn't on a tile when it's drained you, then it would add health to the boss at the end.
Well, you could
After
be
a certain
fighting
amount
at
of-
the same
yeah.
time and having to do the reaction thing at the same time, making it very hard.
Hmm.
And then have the Wooks thing where it will just fill up if you keep messing up. And do that all at the same time. I could actually make a raids
Ooh.
room. It could be
So
really
you're
cool.
saying I like that actually.
Yeah, yeah. So if you miss a tile and you get drained that tile then fills up, for example. So say if, obviously you miss there, that would fill up there, but then you'd miss a tile there and that would fill up that one as well. I don't know.
Can you do both? Boss is invulnerable at the start, X health,
Yeah.
maybe 50% health. Everyone stands on the tiles, and then when the boss is no longer invulnerable, it does the other one.
Yeah.
So you can do both of them.
And that would be a super long boss room as well then. You have to
Like
incorporate
you could
both.
probably make it. I don't know. I can't remember how long they said Raids 2 was meant to be, but
Yeah, I have no idea.
maybe a couple of minutes, depending on the boss's defense as well.
I mean, you could make it look super low defense if it takes ages to kill. That's not really a problem. You could just like balance it around that. I like this idea. Has anyone got anything against it?
Are we all agreeing on a bat?
Oh yeah.
Are we keeping Tom happy?
Yeah. That is doable.
Is it
Or
a
just
humanoid
build-
bat or is
just
it just
build
like a
one
bat?
Huh?
Could be a humanoid bat.
It could be like a big. You
Could
know,
be Batman.
So it could be like the bats from the Firewatch areas. It could be a big one of them. I don't know. Big
Yeah.
bloke with wings.
Yeah, it's one that's like really weak and that's been left there for ages,
Yeah,
and,
it's
then,
like on
and then you send in the
floor,
feast,
withering and stuff.
and because it's
Yeah,
getting
it
drained
gets-
and it's
yeah,
getting
it
more
gets
powerful. Yeah.
stronger. Yeah.
So yeah, the way it's going to work then. So the concept would be you enter the room, all 5 players would enter the room. Let's say at
There's
the
this
same
massive
time.
hungry ancient bat that's been there for
Right in the
ages,
middle.
and it's
Yeah.
really weak, and you have to
Yeah.
run to the tiles in time, otherwise you get drained and it would feed the bat, and then by the end it would be released to you, and then you have to fight it.
Yeah, and then when it's released and you're fighting it, that's when the second mechanic comes
Yeah.
in, where it starts filling up the game depending where you're stood. So the first one you want to get the right places, the second one you want to try and build it so there's not blood everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it
I
would.
think that would make a solid raids boss, to be fair.
Yeah, it'd be
It's not a
pretty good,
terrible
actually.
idea. Yeah, it would be good. I like it.
Make Torvest the draw.
Alex, let's go.
Art skills.
I'll try and explain it if you want. What I think it should look like. Come on.
Draw the bat. What does the boss look like?
Draw a bat.
No, you're not drawing a bar. I'm just gonna. Oh wait, are we actually drawing the
Can
actual
you draw
bar?
the entire animation for us, please? The entire
Who's
sequence.
the best artist on this team?
Not me.
I can draw
Definitely.
circles and squares.
I can't
represent
draw.
them.
I mean, I think I drew a cow
No,
once.
I'll
and
try draw. What
It's
do you want me
stick
to
legs,
draw?
man. It's terrible.
I was just going to draw the outline of the actual boss room, how it would work. That's how I think it's quite simple.
I mean, we should
I'm not
we should
drawing a
combine that. Who can combine those together? Because I'm really.
Well, if it's a tile-based
It'd be the
system, it'd be a
same- that-
square
that-
room, wouldn't it?
That's sort of just the mechanics. So the one at the bottom is
That would be the start.
it's 5
To
tiles.
give the boss its power
Yeah.
or its health, and then that would kick in, and then you have to not fill up the room.
Yeah, so it's like a 2-phase boss.
Yeah.
So the first phase, you
It's all about reaction
are
speed.
basically doing that to keep how powerful the boss is. The better you do that, the weaker the boss.
Yeah.
Second phase, that'll still exist, but obviously even way weaker. Like that could hit you if you ever could get hit by like a 4.
So this
if you
means
did
this,
it
this
perfectly.
room could be super long or super short depending on how you do the first bit, and that's how you get like raid records based on how good your reactions would be on the first part, and then
If it's just healing
you go
hit
with that.
points, yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you could kill it faster. And then obviously the more health it has, the harder that second phase will actually be as well. Right, Alex, let's get drawing.
What do you want me to draw the finished product?
Draw.
This is what the boss is gonna look like.
This is what I think the room should look like as a concept.
Should I get rid of this
No, I'm gonna draw the boss.
you're gonna draw the
You
boss?
can draw
Okay.
the- Right, so this is the finished product.
Leaked.
Wait, what's on his back?
Right, so,
Some sticky level.
wait, can you see?
So this is the boss.
This is the finished product.
Mate, look, 10 times better than what I draw. To be fair, you know, bats only have like 2 teeth on each side. This guy's got a full set.
Wait,
Oh no, he's
I
doing
don't
the
think they can see
pupils.
it.
God, why did you do the
Is that-
pupils, man?
Keep it hidden. Keep it hidden.
Can I see it?
It's like one of those games where we're playing that game right now where we guess the image. What is it? Picture graph.
Right, so that's the finished product.
It's
And it's gonna be released next
Tree with the head,
Thursday.
mate.
Right, now it's on the boss room. Oh no.
Oh, no. What's that?
Boss room.
Right, I'll draw the boss room. This is how I think the boss room should look. So if anyone sort of misunderstood where I came from, I have no sticker on my back, right?
Name the involvement of Golbat.
Of Golbat? Ah,
After Golbat, is that?
no. Wait, does it go Zubat then Golbat?
Yeah, and after Golbat.
It's Crobat.
Mate, some guys said I've got a
What's
flat
it?
head.
Crobats.
I mean,
Crobats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zubat, Golbat, Crobat.
That's Crobat.
Okay.
Sing that down.
he's got a flat head. What does that mean? He's not flat.
Right.
So that would be the boss there in the middle. you
So
think?
the boss is a 3x3 square in the middle, similar size to a black demon, let's say. Dead in the middle, so everything on the other sides is all equal squares, all the way around, whole room being a square. So let's say you've got, I don't know, 8 squares there maybe. So the whole room there would be 19 squares long. Don't know if that's possible, by the way. But basically the boss would just be dead in the center, and it wouldn't move at any point in the fight. Similar to something, what is it? The winter demon in Rage
Yeah.
just stands in the same
I
place the
imagine
whole
like
time.
at the start when you first go in, like it would just be there weak, and then it had like loads of bats around it, so it's invulnerable. So that's on the tile bit, and then after it'd be released, then it would start to attack you, but stay in the middle.
Yeah, so you'd walk in, whole team of 5 would walk in, it would start, and it'd be like, I don't know, 6 seconds
Yeah.
to start so it doesn't waste too much time. And then it would spawn, everyone would split up, you can't run through it. It'd spawn like
Tiles. Now
5 tiles.
Now
like
the
that.
problem with that is people would try to run to the same tile. So I think
That's
to
where the
force people
communication
to
comes in.
I think to force people to different tiles, like it would be color coordinated. So you'd have a green ring under, you'd have to run to the green circle.
That could be added, I like
Because
that.
otherwise everyone would just run to the same tile, but like with the own pools, and they wouldn't split out.
chat in this stream? I like the idea, if you walk in this room, similar to Barber's Soul, everyone has a colour.
Yeah, around them.
If the chat likes that, because then you'd have your own specific one, but what if you're stood here and then your colour comes up there? You kind
Then
of screwed.
unfortunate, mate, you know.
Because that'd be a bit of RNG to it, which
Just
obviously
make
might
it
make
where
the
it
boss a bit
spawns
harder.
within like 10 squares here or something, or like 5 or something.
But
It's
if you
fine,
think
but-
about it, they could make it so it's always possible to reach the other side of the room as long as you're tick perfect to make it difficult, or a few ticks out.
Everyone could also start somewhere in the middle, so they're closer to all the corners.
True.
Yeah. So what I think with that is the 5 tile thing for the first phase of the boss would happen 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
They'd change constantly. And then after those 5, if you've done them all
Yeah, maybe the
perfectly-
colour under you could change as well. So like you're green one time, you have to run to the green tile, then you suddenly change
So
to white, and then you see
confusing.
confusing. Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be too difficult though.
Well, not really, because you're just looking for basically a white tile on the floor.
Or the other
Otherwise you're
option
drained.
is that like it's like a really weak stage floor, And so you have to stand on one of them, but you can only have one person under each one. So they have to talk to each other and say, I'm going to go to the most.
That would be even
That's the idea I thought, is if you take all the colours out, 5 spawn, 5 players, player 1 and 2 are here, player 3's here, player 4's here, player 5's here, split. Player 1 and 2 can't both go to that one. They need to go to whichever one. So player 3 obviously goes to that one, player 4 go to that one, so player 5 will go to that one, player 2 has to go to that one. And then assuming they've got time.
That could work as well, and then maybe if like there's 2 people on one tile, not coordinate, then they would get hit anyway. Because they'd overdo the tile.
Yes, I don't know if that can be coded. But that's that, and then that happens 5 times. So when that happens, they all disappear off the floor, but you want to change it so it's like a minimum amount of time. So it's like as soon as you get your square, a new one appears. There's no like pause. Just the next one spawns somewhere, and you've got to get to the next one. 5 times in the case of, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds of real time. And then phase 2 starts. And then obviously if you do that perfectly, the boss doesn't heal too much health because you're on that certain
That would be
square.
really quick if it just did only 5. So maybe it could do like 1, 2, 3, then second phase 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It could do like 4 times or something. Rather than just having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's the boss. You know what I mean?
I'm just thinking five squares spawn.
Yeah.
Bam. Everyone tries to get to it. If you fail it, you take damage. The next one spawns straight away. Repeat, 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 repeat. 5 times, and that's phase 1. The boss now has its health, and then it starts attacking you. You can now DPS the boss down, and then the other mechanic comes in where certain squares become, you can't stand there anymore. So you have to sort of work out where to stand to actually make an area inside the actual game where you can kill it. Which I think is good. I don't know about the chat. I've been speaking for a while.
What should we call it?
Move it along, mate.
Name-wise, how long do we have? 20 minutes.
Batinator.
Well, let's talk about more about Wooks' bit now, because I think everybody needs to understand that.
That's phase 1. Does
that
everyone
part's-
understand phase 1?
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's
Everyone's got
pretty
it.
straightforward.
Right.
Now this is when the boss comes out. So you'd have
So
it's-
I shouldn't have. Yeah,
so
keep that.
now it would be attackable, and it'd be attacking you as well.
So now, yeah,
So how
boss,
would the
it
target-
stays exactly where it is. The whole room is, again, completely open. So if I delete all of these, but the 5 players are still randomly in this room. So let me just get this. This board is going to fall. I'm not happy with it. So let's just put player 1 here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they're split out, so there's coordination. Now, what I think you mean by this part is the boss will hit someone, one person,
Yeah.
at a time. So let's say it hits player 1. That square becomes the blood.
Yes. And then he would attack 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then go in the same order.
And then repeat. So after 5, how fast would he attack?
It depends on how fast you kill him.
Do
Because
you not think it'd
know-
be harder if it was random rather than going in a circle? Because then people would hope we just got AFK till it's their turn again.
Again, there'll probably be an animation on the actual thing that might make it a bit easier to see that. So then, let's say everyone's split up, but this entire area, if they stood in the exact corner, is all just blood at this point. So player 1 has to be stood here, repeat for the corners,
Yeah, it just
and then maybe
smalls the
player
room.
4 had to cut this part off. All of this area, I think,
You just take
is
damage
blood
if you
that's
just stand there.
damaged. So now the arena is smaller. Is it sort of like that?
Kinda. I was thinking we might need a bit more move mechanic, because if I can show again. So the idea that I explained before was that so here's the grid system in RuneScape. So if you put blood here, then blood here, it would obviously fill up the one that's in the middle. But one thing you could do is you could put blood here and then next to it as well, so it wouldn't really fill up anything because there's no square that has 2 blood next to it. So you can kind of fill it
So
up
if it's
like
like
that.
two
That's
spots,
the
it'll just
smart
like
way
create
of
a
doing it.
flow between them.
But the problem with this is that it can be easy to mess up, because if you put blood here, then it would this one comes next to 2 ones.
Yeah.
And this one comes next
So what
to
would
ones.
happen then if,
So
like, say, if the blood
it
lands
just
on
builds
you?
up everything here if you mess up. So there's like different methods for it.
Would you have to like not stand on the tile of blood then? So
Are they permanent?
Yeah, I would say so. Until
think
you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to stand in it after because it would damage you.
That's what I'm saying. Because I think
That's what I'm
if
trying to
it-
understand. Like, what would force? Because the players could just stand there the whole time on this tile of blood. They have
It'd
to
be
move away
like,
from it.
I think if you did it really bad, the whole room would be full of blood, and it's like being in Deadman Fog. You're just constantly taking damage. The boss dies, boom, room done, it just disappears. So you want to try and do it efficiently so that only minimal places are actually filled with the thing, which I think is sort of like that. If people stand in the corners and do it correctly, the arena just gets smaller and smaller. And obviously when the boss is dead, you just leave. So would you say with that mechanic, it'd be best, like a proper way to do it would be players would be stood in the corners for the very first one and then move inwards?
Well, yeah, obviously, because you can place the blood like this, I think we need some more mechanic that makes the players move around a bit more. Just because
You just take one step.
you take one step, it just fills up one square otherwise.
What other
So-
mechanic could we add to keep people moving while that's happening, where it's not just going to fill the entire arena up, while they're also killing the boss? So depending on the size of the room, depends, because if you're using, say, a blowpipe, I think it's like 5 or 6 tiles, say that's 8 across, you'd have to hit him from here, so you can't just stand on the wall, assuming you're blowpipe in it.
Well, yeah, if there's 5 players and the boss attacks every 4 ticks, he would attack the same player every 20 ticks, because it goes in order. So you can kind of run out whenever you get attacked and then run back in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I get that.
I get it now, but now it's just figuring out some way to keep them moving, because otherwise it would attack player 1, they'd make a tile, he would just move 1 tile out of it, move to player 2, attack him, and then he'd have like 5 tiles.
Yeah, if
But-
it was on that though, say it was every 20 ticks it attacked, couldn't you time it perfectly and step on your previous one as it hits you, and it would just be on the same square?
Well, no, if you stand on a blood while he's attacking, you would have to use something else, I think.
Like a really powerful thing, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I think so.
I like that, that's good. What else is there? How does it attack? Anyone wanna?
I mean, there's the boss
Try
who's going to
Brit
have
or-
like a normal attack. He's just going to have, he's not just going to be sat there doing no, right?
Unless it's only the environment that's going to be damaging you.
That'd be kind of boring, though, I think.
Because then obviously if the boss is attacking constantly everyone and just putting all the fog out there, or the blood, is there anything else to it? Because if it's purely just the environment, what happens if you do the first part perfectly and kill the second boss? Like kill it immediately, the room could be over in like 60 seconds, you move on, it's dead easy.
I think the boss should probably fight back as well.
What attack style?
I don't know.
Probably just
It'd
mage,
probably be a
just
range
drain
and
him.
mage.
Yeah.
Let's
range
do a
and mage.
group attack where like it
Well,
can
a
just blood barrage all
a
5
bat
players
that's
at
standing in the
once.
middle and can't move, it's going to be range or mage, isn't it? It's not going to swipe you if you get, or maybe if you get close to it, it swipes you. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think the best way to do it is you maintain the whole blood rehealing thing, and it, during the actual kill.
Maybe you could just like send bats at you.
Right,
Yeah,
so
could do.
do we think during the fight there should be the possibility of someone standing on, say, a tile, which then re-heals the bat? Because I'm thinking, because it's a bat, it should be able to fly, but if we want to keep people moving, we can have it that once it's so low, it goes down into the ground like it was weak again, and then you start to melee it, because it's weak to melee, and then obviously if anyone messes up while that's happening, it can go back up in the air and you have to range it again. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there maybe.
So it's going to definitely be range and mage. No melee in the actual fight,
I'm just
unless that
think-
happens.
I'm just thinking if you want people to keep moving around, it'd be cool as well if like it was weak to melee at certain points when it's on the ground when it's weak, and then when it's up in the air it's strong and you have to range it to get back down. Something like that, I don't know. Like maybe if you stand on a tile or something like that, maybe spikes come up and it like gets blood again and gets more health.
I like the idea of when it gets weak, it falls down, then you melee. That's a good idea, I think. But I mean, why would it fall down?
And while that's happening, if they're still putting the blood beneath a certain player, that player would not be meleeing it, they'd step away. Just to a completely dead square, and then obviously it switches, so you'd rotate, so it'd be 4 people meleeing, 1 stood away, and then obviously when he's took his hit of blood, they switch, and just repeat that. That's what I'm sort of picturing. So I'm trying to think if it's possible to do it where you're not just you're guaranteed to take some damage. Like, I think we're building a room here where you can do it without taking any damage at all,
That's a good thing, I think.
assuming it's executed perfectly.
Yeah.
But then it could be a solved room as well. One strategy that just is perfect for the whole thing.
Well, if it's hard to do, then that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that one there. Because it costs no food or supplies to a skilled team. I think you could probably solve the room pretty quickly. Like, of where you should be standing at certain points if you were just given all the information.
Yeah. I think for skilled players, like, if they're able to do it really well and efficiently, because this is going to be really hard to coordinate with 5 players, if they do it really well, they should be able to do it with very minimal damage, but make it so difficult to the point where it's unlikely that's going to happen. Like, chances are somebody is going to mess up, you know?
My guy's getting roasted.
Is there any kind of item that would help in this room? Like, is there anything you can think of that is related to blood or something like that that would actually help you out?
Does the Rod of Ivandis do anything?
I don't know.
Because I know they have the flail.
Dead content.
Because if it's the vampire, vampires are weak to something. I'm sorry, but it's like silver potions or something weird.
I don't think there'd really be items to take down the boss.
I feel-
The
yeah,
boss would be pretty easy to take down. It's just more about.
No specific item for the.
Because like, what would
specific-
happen if you say stood on a tile that was already there? Would it drain your health and give it back to the boss?
Yes.
And say if like the whole room fills up with tiles, why would that be game over? Is it because the whole
It wouldn't be
tiles then
game
draining
over. I
it?
think if a team doesn't do it correctly, the whole room you're just taking damage similar to Deadman Fog, so it just destroys your supplies, but you can still kill the boss. So if you were to just, you could literally just attack the boss and just tank everything if you want to. You can still kill it, but your supplies will just be diminished completely. So if you do it perfectly, you lose almost no supplies. That's what I'm thinking.
I think garlic should reduce damage by half. Well, garlic, innit? Vampires are weak to garlic. It just be kind of funny, expert raid teams bringing a garlic with them. I don't know.
Sick. It would be sick.
One
Just take one garlic and
They
one
take the
with
steak
ruby
in
sword.
from the character
Yeah.
in our quest.
Or you'd have like one guy on a team who's just like the designated garlic guy who brings like 20 garlics with him. Just shares them all out.
Once he's done, he just leaves the raid, that's it. The people split the reward.
Probably a bad idea.
Alright, we need opinions from people who've not put an input yet.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking so
What
far?
are we thinking so far of the idea?
Let's go around. Let's start with Davidas. What's your
Well,
initial?
I mean, I didn't understand like half of it because it's like mathematical and
Yeah.
all that. So
I'm still trying to get my head around the second bit, but
Yeah.
I kind of get the concept.
The second bit.
Oh yeah, and the colors. Like, there's gonna be some colorblind people as well. So maybe like shapes on the tiles or something instead of
Well,
colors.
you can have colourblind mode. Like they'll be able to do that, right? We have a colourblind mode on the game.
We do.
Do we not?
Do we?
I'm pretty sure they did a change recently, made it like colourblind.
Well, for Cerberus, they brought in like the weapons for them.
Yeah.
There's colorblind
I
mode
think
for.
they can probably figure that out. To be fair.
They could just have it in the chat like they do it at home. Because it tells you like range
Yeah.
style attack or whatever. Alright.
I thought-
Actually, that wouldn't make sense. No.
Are we not going like, you know, on Ulm it drops like the turquoise circles. It's like 2 of them, and the whole team has to get on it.
Yeah.
With this one, might have just dropped 5 of them, and everyone just chooses one. No colours, no need anything. Just grab the closest one to you.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if there's 2 players that suddenly two right next to each other, and 2 players go to that, and then there's 2 more split, they have to make the decision of which to go to.
I think that's better because that means people have to like be really coordinated with it. So you'd have to be like, I'm going northwest. Anything that goes in the northwest corner, I'm on it. And then everybody would have their own location. Whereas if we make it like color coordinated, it's basically the same as it is in Ulm, pretty much. So if we did it like that, it's gonna require the team to like be talking a hell of a lot and be communicating and be like, I'm going in this side of the map, you go in this side, I'll stay here, for example, and then they just go to the closest one that spawns.
So it's a bit like the grotesque guarding mechanic where she throws out the orbs and you'll have to run to it and grab an orb, otherwise it heals.
Is that the gargoyle boss?
Yeah,
That's what I was
exactly
going to say. I think the animation should be 5 of them go out, so you can see where to run to in advance. Because otherwise, if you just take the corners and there's constantly one going to you, say 5 of them move to one corner, if they just appear, you're not going to have time to run from northwest to southeast. But if you can see the animations, your team can call it. They're all going to go south.
Because the only problem with that, if like say if 2 orbs go together, then one player will be able to grab 2 orbs, and like say player 5 wouldn't have any input. That's why I'm thinking if it forces them to
So you
stand
won't be
on a
taking.
certain
You just
tile.
stand on it.
Okay.
Just stand on it. I didn't read that one in time.
It just said, will this room be able to be completed by a bunch of randomers that aren't in Discord, for example? And I think it would,
just type
because
in
you
game.
just put NW, northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest.
Well,
Like,
I'm
it'd
gonna,
be quite easy to do it like that.
if you think of Dungeoneering, which one? There's the levers room, but I don't think that one was very coordinated too much. Yeah, you just count it down. You just go 3, 2, 1. Everyone just pull the lever.
Yeah.
So in this room, it would be, you just look at it, and in the first phase you take no damage, so you just stand right next to the boss, and then you'd see the animation similar to the orbs from the gargoyle boss, Dusk I think which one, and then you just run towards the square, and then obviously if they put 5 in the same area, the whole team has to choose one, because if 2 people jump on one, then they both go to the next one, then they could both go back, they're going to get hit. So that's how I think it should go. So there'll be an animation you can follow, and then at that point just go towards it. So if you're stood northwest, and one goes northwest, that's obviously yours.
Yeah. And obviously a bunch of randomers could do that that aren't in Discord, of course, because you just say, you either say, I'm going to this corner, whoever's like in charge of it will just say, you go here, and then just go by that.
Right.
Does the chat actually think this is a good idea?
We need to try and
is this a good
simplify
idea?
this. We need to
Or
simplify
boil it
this.
down.
I'm gonna-
We have to give it a pitch in front, like, because the team's
So
coming down in like
it's
a few
basically a
minutes.
boss with 2 phases, right?
Yeah.
You've got phase 1, which is basically whatever we're going to call it, like the specific blood placement one, switching over multiple times, and then it goes on to this one, phase 2, with
So I'll write up phase
the
1.
boss being a bat, which is initially in the middle pretty lifeless, and then it begins to get stronger.
Yeah. So
And-
the more you mess up
yeah.
in phase 1, the stronger it is in phase 2.
Yes.
Basically, it needs to be simplified because I'm still.
Would that just
like,
boost its health, or
what's
would
going
it boost its stats as well, do you think?
everything.
Do you think everything
Yeah.
would be a buffed boss, depending how much you mess up?
I don't know if anyone can read that because I have really bad handwriting because I dropped out of uni, so bear with me. So phase 1 would be 5 tiles, 5 random tiles, 5 times, 5 random tiles that you need to get to. It repeats 5 times, so if you x5 that, every time you miss one, you get damaged.
I think a picture would be better to like explain what Wooks was doing with the connecting the X's or whatever.
That's phase
I've
2.
got a
It
couple
kinda
down
had to
there.
understand.
Yeah, this is just the phase 1. The phase 2.
Oh right, yeah, I'm an idiot.
But that's how I think it should be. So basically, it does it 5 times. Everyone knows it's 5 times. It's basically solved.
Yeah.
You just go to the right tile. If you miss one, you take damage, and the boss will heal over health and overload in a way for every one you miss. So if you hit all 5 perfectly, boss has the starting health of 500. Give it 1 defense, so DPS is good. Depending if you want blow packs with the best weapon.
So there's a possible 25 tiles on this. It's 5 times 5.
25
so,
tiles. You miss them all. The boss will have
So
like 50.
that's 25 times, the power. Well, not 25 times, but it's more.
Damage wise, the odds of missing all 5 is 0. Honestly.
Like, you could literally say one tile would have a certain amount of buff to it, so if you miss one, that's how much it's going to be. So if you miss 10 tiles, it would be like, say, 10 times
That's
the
the
power.
way you do it. You don't, because this boss, I think we built it, it's not going to actually attack anyone. It's just the environment that's going to damage you in the second phase when like you start shutting off the whole map and it's going to get smaller and smaller. So therefore, every time you miss one, the boss just regenerates health. The longer the boss takes to kill, the more squares that will eventually be filled. And then if it's got like 1,000 health at the end, the whole arena might be full and you've got to take damage. And if it's got 500, you can kill it before you make any mistakes.
So it's more like a supply draining room then, rather than...
Unless you do it right now.
Yeah.
Have you thought about anything to like actually? I know I'm going back into mechanics. We're meant to be wrapping it up, but like, have you thought about you got to run to the tiles in phase 1? Have you thought about like other things that can make like slow you down, like bats will block the way and you can't run through them or something?
I get so
Or
like a
something like
barricade
that.
in Castle Walls
Yeah,
today.
pretty much.
Oh my god.
I mean, that could happen. That could make it harder. That would kind of solve the ping issue too, because it would slow down the whole thing. So like bad ping or just crap. I'd make it easier as well in a way, wouldn't it? Give more room for error.
Oh, everyone's asked me to be muted, so am I allowed to speak anymore on this? Does anyone write anything on the board? Tom, do you want to find something on the board?
Mate, my writing's terrible. I wouldn't be able to read it. There's no point. I'd rather just talk, to be fair. I feel like, I don't know, it needs to be simplified. Like, it can't be too overcomplicated, if that makes sense. Like, the second part, there's a few bits where I'm just like, well over my head.
I get it. It's just like Connect 4 or something.
It's more like,
know,
is it called Squares, that game?
Game of Felon.
Yeah, that
No.
one. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of like that.
It's like tic-tac-toe. One of the... Oh, yeah, it's squares, isn't it?
But to be fair, we want it to be fairly intricate. Like, obviously, with it being raids 2, they want it to be pretty hard.
Yeah. I think it should be super punishing. So, like, if the team messes up, anybody on the team, like, if you mess up on every phase up until the second part when the boss is actually alive, like, make it borderline impossible. Like, borderline. Or maybe just make it
Does that just
impossible.
rage quit the raid, though? Or is it like you have to just keep doing it to practice this thing? You have a couple of scuffed rooms and you get a good one?
Well, maybe they can do it so, like, if say everybody wipes, everybody does die, the room resets, but then obviously you lose half of your points, so that's really bad. In itself, that's a big enough of a punishment, I think. Instead of having to, like, reset the entire raid and never being able to do it, I don't know.
Okay, guys. It's been a very productive live stream here. We've gotten quite far, actually. Better than I expected. I was really hoping you guys weren't going to meme this, and you didn't. You took it very seriously. We can appreciate that. Hopefully people in the chat have been following along. Mod Kieran, however, has been working away, and he's about to join us for the dev Q&A, which will be starting immediately after this stream. And as one of the main devs behind Raids 2, you're going to pitch your room to Mod Kieran as he evaluates it and decides whether it's worthy enough to have a place in Raids 2.
Oh, the sunglasses.
I'm the judge. I need the sunglasses. So I'm expecting the top design here. Who's going to start? Who's going to summarise it for
So
us?
you walk in and then 7 Jads just spawn.
We got it! Congratulations, guys. Straight in.
Alright, who's explaining? Do I explain?
Who understands this the best?
Shall I explain the first part? Where you walk in?
First part, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so you walk in, just imagine a room with some massive like bat in the middle. It's been drained, it's been there for years, it needs food.
Yeah.
So all these players walk in, tiles start to appear on the floor. Each player needs to run to a tile. If they don't stand the tile in time, then the boss will drain and add power to itself. It does that 5 times, so there's 25 possible tiles. If you miss all 25, it's going to be like a really powerful boss for phase 1. And then once phase 1 is done, it goes to phase 2. And then this is where Whoops comes in with his grid tactic.
Can you have it then?
Yeah.
So
No! Oh no.
Is that a drawing of the boss?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the final product.
So we have the RuneScape grid system here,
Yep.
and the boss would attack players in order, in same order the whole time. So if you say player 1 stands right here, the boss would shoot a pool of blood right here underneath the player, so player would have to move away.
Yeah.
If you stand in the pool, it would hit the boss and damage the player. And then he would shoot another pool at the second player. So if we say the second player is standing here, he would put the blood.
Yeah.
And then the thing about this is that the bloods can connect. So whenever there's an empty square that has 2 other pools of blood right next to it, it will fill up the empty one with blood as well. So you want to position your pools of blood so they're not so close to each other, because otherwise it could quickly fill up the whole room.
I like that.
And then you'd be draining the whole
So, you, as a team, you're going to have to work out carefully
Yeah.
exactly where you're all going to stand in the room in advance and plan this out.
Yeah.
I like that.
And the
And
first
based on the order as well.
Yeah.
So you can.
it's a bit like a rotation kind of thing.
That's really cool.
Or you're trying to take down the boss at the same time.
And it fits thematically as well, with the with obviously the fact there's a bat and blood and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because this room could be like
That's really
really
cool.
easy or really
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah,
depending
it's
on
kinda-
how you coordinate that bit, and then the first bit how powerful the boss is at the start.
Yeah,
Question
we
for you guys, just real quick. How much
How much are you taking if you mess up?
a lot.
A lot.
Well,
How much is a
respect to
lot?
the amount where it's not like one mistake is just a raid over.
Like
but
how
it's
much would it be on the tiles at the start, do you think?
I'm thinking it should be like the power of like the Cerberus pools if you're in the second
So-
stair, but not when the whole area's filled up. That one should be like dead
Yeah.
man gas.
'Cause you've got-
3 damage.
Because each player has to land on at least 5 tiles, so you could say like 20 damage for each. So if you miss all 5, that's 100 damage. Or say, probably get away with 30, because you're going to get to probably 2 of them, aren't you? Maybe you miss like 3 of them or something.
Realistically, a good team shouldn't miss any.
Yeah.
So a couple
So-
things you need to consider.
Is
Supplies.
consumed. So once a team perfects this and gets this down to a T, how long is it going to take them to complete this room, and how many supplies is it going to take?
My idea, rough numbers, is you get every single pool correct. The boss heals no extra health, and it has a flat health of, I don't know, 1,000 maybe, and it has 1 defense. So a blowpipe can tear it down very quickly with dragon darts. You could destroy it.
So you imagine essentially, the more you mess up, the harder the boss is going to
Yeah,
get as
basically.
well. And
It's like because it's I
you
don't
punish yourself in damage and the boss getting more difficult.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
I think we've built it so the boss doesn't actually attack you, it's the environment.
Yeah.
So on the first phase, the more you miss, the more health the boss has. The longer it takes to kill, the more pools of blood that are around, and then they start connecting. So eventually, if you mess up too bad, the whole room's just full of blood, and everyone's taking damage, like 3 per tick or something.
I think it needs a lot more than 1000 health, because with blowpipe the DPS is like 10 damage per second, and with 5 players that's 50 damage per second, so it's going to be
I mean,
20
what's
seconds
the
to kill.
normal health of a raid boss with 5 people scaled, would you say?
Don't know off the top of my head.
Probably a few thousand at least, I'd say.
That was just rough numbers I threw
Yeah.
around. Then it's just how much health it heals per tile missed. So if you hit 25 tiles correct and miss 1,
Because you could do a flat linear for each tile. You could say like each tile you miss is 250 HP to the boss or something. So 10 tiles, 2,500 HP.
yeah, it's 200 blood.
See, something I'm so keen on, especially with this raid, with raids 2, the Theatre of Blood, is to have those team-based mechanics
Yeah.
where you really have to be organised together. I mean, this mechanic fits perfectly. You're trying to stand out. You've got to organise between each other. Tactics hit beforehand well.
With With Raids 2, it's going to be linear, obviously. So this room, if it was put into Raids 2, would be in permanently every single time. And one of the things we need to consider is how quickly it takes them to beat this room, right? So if they end up beating this room in a minute because they've perfected the strategy to a T, and it still has its guaranteed drop, which might be a few 100K or what have you, we want to make sure that that's in line with the other rooms. So we'll look at the boss's health and kind of determine how long it'll take people to complete the room after that. But overall, it sounds like a really, really amazing design. I say well done, guys.
Do I get a rating out of 10 now?
What the last thing we need, really, the last thing we need is a name, I think, for this boss.
Well, didn't we decide on that? Batinator.
We're not doing that.
That's too cheesy. That's way
I'm ruling that one out right now.
Just want to mention the taxonomical name for bats is really cool. Like, get the chat to Google it for us. Like, please.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Chiroptera or something.
That is the name of the boss.
Perfect.
Done.
Done.
Something based
Very
on
much. You just take a normal word, you look at like the Latin or the Greek, and that's how you get the that's how you get the boss name, pretty much.
Call it Wooks.
Okay.
Works one, yeah.
I'm gonna.
One more thing is when you stand on the square in the second phase and the blood comes down, obviously the boss is going to rotate each player by a certain amount of time, and just so you can't time it to perfection, if you step on the one you previously were next attack you get it because obviously it'd be on the same square, it wouldn't spread.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you do that, you take like a ridiculous amount of damage just to prevent you keep them one square.
So you're considering ways that it can be abused, the mechanics?
Because eventually it'll be a solved room. If you just do that, then it prevents that happening. So you have to build it out. To be
considering all the different potential tactics, I like it.
We're-
I've got to say you did a pretty good job.
Yeah. And we're not limited to this session. This can definitely continue. We're actually about to go out for a meal, so we can continue over dinner. However, what is about to start is the old school dev Q&A, so we're going to be kicking that thing off very shortly. Overall, though, it's a yes from me, Kieran. Is it a yes from you?
It's a yes from me, Simon.
We'll take some more time to really just kind of get through this thing and design it as flawlessly as we possibly can. But overall, I think you guys did a great job. I know the chat loved it, so well done, guys. Thanks for your time. Yeah. And we're going to throw you guys over to a holding screen as we let the J-mods take the couches for the old school Q&A.